Having a well-developed, prominent butt has become mainstream, leading to the rise of influencers making a living using just their asses. Not only do they look good, having strong glutes can also keep you from having lower back and even knee issues, since weakness in the glutes can put excessive stresses on the adjacent structures trying to pick up the slack. Many influencers market their own branded hip circles, also known as booty bands. While hip circles are somewhat useful for abduction-based exercises and kickbacks, they often do not provide enough resistance to produce the results most people are looking for. Most people will use hip circles for very high reps like 30 or even 50, and that's just not an ideal rep range if you're trying to build muscle. If you're interested in building the external rotators of the hips, the gluteus medius, and the main hip extensor, the gluteus maximus, you're better off doing hip thrust, single leg RDLs, cable kickbacks, cable pull-throughs, cable hip abductions, and back extensions, because these exercises are much easier to progressively overload. Booty bands can come in handy, however, as a way to get more side booty activation when doing hip thrusts, squats, and deadlifts, but in my opinion, they don't add that much. I'm going to leave out the glute medius, or the side booty, for just a second to focus on the coveted asset, pun intended, the gluteus maximus. Barbell hip thrusts are a very effective way to engage the glutes in a way that can be sufficiently loaded for maximum booty gains. So let's learn how to do them right. First, you want to make sure the bench is at an appropriate height. Ideally, you want your butt to be able to touch the ground at the bottom of the movement. However, most benches are higher than this, and you won't be able to bring your butt all the way back to the ground. Unless you have a specialized hip thrust bench, this is usually what you will be stuck with, so let's go through the setup. First, you'll need some padding. I found this on Amazon. It's a ProSource balance pad and works pretty well, even at heavy weights. You'll need to load 10-pound bumper plates at a bare minimum in order to get the barbell high enough off the ground to get it over your thighs. If you have particularly large thighs and need more clearance, placing the bar on an elevated platform such as a pair of 45-pound plates can work well. Position the pad so that the middle of it rests on your hip crease, and align the barbell using the score marks so that it is centered. Roll the bar over the pad until it reaches the crease of your hips. Then scoot your heels in until your feet are almost flat. Place your elbows on top of the bench and simultaneously push your elbows straight down into the bench and your feet into the ground until your hips lift. Once your hips are off the ground, you will probably need to walk your heels in some more until your knees are slightly behind your ankles and your feet are flat. If the bench moves, consider placing some dumbbells or plates against the bench to keep it from sliding. This can be the trickiest part of the setup, as it is easy to teeter-totter so much that the plates end up sliding off one side of the barbell, which is why I'd recommend metal collars instead of plastic ones, since they are more secure. From here, aim your pelvis towards the ceiling without scooting back on the bench. Your upper body will remain at about a 45-degree angle, and you will be looking forward the whole time. Do not tilt back into the bench. It helps to think of contracting your abs as your pelvis moves skyward as if you're doing a crunch, and actually try to feel your glutes squeeze at the top of the movement. Allow your hips to come all the way down as far as you can without sliding off the bench and coming out of position. If you want to build your glutes, go heavy on these. I'd say if you're able to do more than 10, it's probably too light. One final note, a lot of conventional exercises such as squats, deadlifts, lunges, split squats, and step-ups recruit the glutes as part of what's called a kinetic chain. But these exercises do not isolate the glutes in quite the same way as the aforementioned exercises, because the plane of resistance is running vertically instead of horizontally, and the glutes work mainly in the horizontal axis. So if you want to isolate the glutes, you have to place resistance against the hips in a way that's trying to push the hips back while trying to force them forward by using your glutes. If you want to target a muscle, it's important to understand what it does, and understanding makes your workouts more effective.